Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video, wherever you are, whatever you may be doing. Thank you so much for making Ref Brandon and the Todd Family part of your day. We always greatly appreciate it. It is a Monday. If you come on here live on this Monday, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section down below. Make sure you give the video a like, a thumbs up. If you have not subscribed, please do so and share the video on all social media platforms. I had so much fun last night talking to the people. I decided instead of waiting till tonight to do the video, I'd go ahead and come on here now, and hopefully I can have the same amount of luck I had last night. Last night I was on here for almost an hour, and my actual topic was 7 or 8 minutes long. The rest of it was just me conversing with all the comments in the comment section, and I always look forward to doing that. I enjoy doing that. If you watched last night and you noticed there was 3 or 4 comments that I totally ignored, and I always have to do that because no matter what time you come on here, but typically it's worse late at night, you're going to have 3 or 4 comments that are put on here by robots just to see if you react. And when I get those, I totally ignore them. Or if it's somebody that don't even watch the channel, they just decide to be an idiot and come on here and leave a comment, I ignore those as well. But the actual ones that are from real people that are worth responding to and I should respond to, I always do. Hey there, Marcus. Glad to have you here. So hopefully today, if not an hour, we can go for a while, depending on how many comments I get. But I had a good time last night. I never thought that I would get almost an hour worth of comments, but I did, and I was glad that I did, because that means the channel is growing, and I'm so glad that it is. About a month or so ago, we celebrated 4 years here on YouTube. I started the channel on March 9th of 2021. But today I want to talk about AEW Dynasty that took place last night. Hey there, Austin. Glad to have you here. We had 10 matches on the main card. I'm not going to talk about the ones that were on the pre-show, or as they call it, 0 hour. And as always, counting 0 hour and the main card, it went almost 6 hours. So their pay-per-views continue to be way too long. You definitely get your money's worth to pay $50 and see 6 hours of wrestling. I am fantastic, Dexter. Thank you for asking. But at the same time, unless you're just a die-hard wrestling fan, hey there, TTV. Glad to have you here. It's hard to sit down and watch almost 6 hours of wrestling and not get bored with it. Dexter, you're from England. Well, it's good to have you here all the way from England. I'm not sure what time of the day it is over there, but nevertheless, glad to have you here. Hey there, Cameron. Glad to have you here. And yes, Austin, I have seen the highlights. But on the main card, as I said, we had 10 matches. Will Ospreay defeated Kevin Knight to advance in the Owen Hart men's tournament. The Hurt Syndicate beat the Learning Tree to retain the AEW Tag Team Championships. Austin, I did enjoy it, with the exception of something I'll talk about here in a couple of minutes. I don't want to spoil it before I get there. Mercedes Moné beat Julia Hart to advance in the women's Owen Hart tournament. The Death Riders beat Rated FTR to retain the Trios Championship. And FTR jumped on, I'm going to call him Edge, because he no longer wants to be Adam Copeland, and Cope is the dumbest thing I've ever heard of in my life, so I'll call him Edge. But FTR jumped on Edge after the match. It's looking more and more like, before it's all said and done, they're going to reunite Edge and Christian Cage in some way, shape, form, or fashion. Hey there, Dismit. Glad to have you here. Thank you so much for stopping by. And all of you that are here for the first time, please make sure you give the video a like, a thumbs up, and if you have not subscribed, please do so. It takes 2 seconds, and it's totally free. And tell your friends and tell your family about the channel. And Austin, I mentioned this when Raw first moved over to Netflix, but I'll mention it again since you asked. I do not have Netflix, and I'm not going to get it. If I already had it, it'd be one thing. I would watch wrestling, but I'm just not a diehard enough wrestling fan to spend $10, $12 a month just to watch wrestling. I'm not going to do it. I can do without it. I can live without it. If I had Netflix, it'd be great, but I don't, and I'm not going to pay for Netflix just to watch wrestling because there's nothing else on Netflix that I'll watch. Now, see, we have Peacock, but we pay for Peacock for the entire year, so we ain't got to pay for it on a monthly basis. Plus, there are other things on Peacock that I'll watch, so it's worth the money. But on Netflix, there is nothing I'm going to watch outside of Raw, and I'm not paying $10 a month, whatever the price is, just to watch Raw once a week. I'm not going to do it. So no, I do not have Netflix. I read the results, see the highlights, and that's about all I'm going to do because I'm not paying to watch wrestling. I can do without. Toni Storm beat Megan Bayne in the AEW Women's World Championship. And this is one of the storylines AEW did that I just do not understand at all. Toni Storm is a phenomenal wrestler. There's no denying that. You can't take away that. She's a phenomenal wrestler. But, you know, she had that angle going with Mariah May, and she claimed she was retiring, and she was gone for, I don't know, 2 months, maybe if that long. And then she came right back, and then she went right back to being timeless Toni Storm. If you're going to retire and come back, at least change your gimmick, change your look, do something. She retires for 2 months and then comes right back and goes right back to the same thing. That makes absolutely zero sense. She's still an amazing wrestler, but what they're doing with her, I just do not understand. But at the same time, it's AEW, and nothing they do makes sense. I guess it does make sense. And Austin, if it does, I'll go to Netflix. I guess I'll watch none of it because I'm not paying to watch wrestling. I can watch hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of free wrestling on YouTube. I'm not going to pay to watch wrestling. Kyle Fletcher beat Mark Briscoe to advance in the men's Owen Hart tournament. Bandito beat Chris Jericho for the Ring of Honor World Championship. Adam Cole beat Daniel Garcia for the TNT Championship. Kenny Omega beat Ricochet and Speedball Bailey for the International Championship. And Jon Moxley beat Swerve Strickland for the AEW World Championship. Now, Austin asked a while ago about the highlights, and I said I liked it all except one thing, and this is the one thing I didn't like. I guess you could kind of make it two things because I'm not a Jon Moxley fan, never have been. But I guess if I've got to pick a world champion between Jon Moxley and Swerve Strickland, I'll pick Jon Moxley. Swerve had the belt, and to me, he's just not a world champion. But the part I didn't like was the Young Bucks coming back. Has nothing to do with them helping Jon Moxley. It's just I despise the Young Bucks. Hey there, Archer. Glad to have you here. And Archer, hopefully people do get the idea that I'm a Clemson fan. That way, they do not have to ask. Now, if they ask, I'm more than happy to tell them. But hopefully with all the scenery, most people don't have to, because if you know anything at all about sports, you pretty much can tell that that's a Clemson Tiger logo. So hopefully it makes less people have to ask. And I always say, Archer, that you can do two things. You can be a Clemson fan, or you can be wrong, whichever one you want to do. But I have never liked the Young Bucks. I never have. I've always thought they were a Hardy Boys ripoff, and I never liked the Hardy Boys. So if I never liked the Hardy Boys, I'm sure not going to like somebody who's ripping off the Hardy Boys, but I have just never been a Young Bucks fan. I thought AEW was finally turning the corner and finally starting to get better again because Kenny Omega was finally back. Adam Cole was finally back healthy. The Young Bucks have been off TV for a while, and I was like, man, this is going to get, not just for me, but for everybody, going to get watchable. And then the Young Bucks come back, and all that is down the drain. Hey there, Keylong. Glad to have you here. I believe this is the first time I've seen your name in the comment section. If it is, thank you so much for being here. Please make sure you give the video a like, a thumbs up, and if you have not subscribed, please do so and share the video on all social media platforms, and tell your friends, tell your family about Ref Brandon and the Todd Family on YouTube. Jay Bird, glad to have you here on this Monday. So outside of the Young Bucks returning, all in all, it was a great pay-per-view. Austin, I probably won't. That's probably why I'm on here now, to avoid coming back on here tonight, because unless something comes up or something happens every single Monday around 8 o'clock Eastern Time, I do a podcast with my man JJ. Him and I talk NASCAR and wrestling every single Monday unless something comes up. Hey there, Bojo. Glad to have you here. And because of that, I'm trying to avoid having to come back on here tonight, because sometimes our podcast might go 30 minutes. Sometimes it might go 45 minutes. Sometimes we might talk for an hour, hour and a half, counting the talking that we do before the show and after the show. So if it's, too late, instead of coming back on here and doing another video, I'll just get the kids to sleep, make sure they're asleep, take me a shower, wait till my wife gets home from practice, and then call it a night. So I'm on here now to hopefully avoid having to come back on here tonight, because I have that podcast, and I didn't want to talk wrestling now and then talk wrestling on the podcast and then come back after the podcast and talk more wrestling. Bojo, I do not make a dime doing this, but thank you for asking. I do this because I enjoy talking to the people and because I enjoy talking sports. I do not make a dime doing this. It's impossible for me to make a dime doing this. And hey there, Jonathan. I'm glad to have you here, because of the fact I don't have Cash App, I don't have PayPal, I don't have Venmo, I don't have anything that would allow people to send me money if they want to send me money. So there's no way that I can make money doing this, but I do it because I enjoy doing it. I enjoy talking to people and meeting people and conversing with people and talking sports, having an avenue to talk sports. Maybe one day I'll get to the point to where I get a Cash App or a PayPal or Venmo, one of those things, but that's not here yet. So right now I don't make a dime doing this. So, when I'm on here, I'm not on here just to talk a bunch of bull crap and be entertaining to make you want to give me money. I'm the same way in real life and the same way on social media as I am on here. Hey there, I'm going to assume that's Danny. Glad to have you here. And Bojo, thank you for saying that. I am a great guy. I'm not one of those people that has a YouTube persona that's different than who I really am. I don't use no stage name. I don't fake nothing. I'm the same way in person as I am on here. Matter of fact, even in the wrestling business, my refereeing name is my actual name. So I don't use stage names, none of that. I'm me all the time. Nothing ever changes. What you see here is what you get. There's no different. And Danny, I'm assuming you must be a fan of Roman Reigns. So nevertheless, glad to have you here. I like people that like all wrestlers and all teams from all ways of life all over the world. So glad to have you here. And if you are a Roman Reigns fan, at least you're not a fan of CM Punk or John Moxley or Seth Rollins. I can deal with Roman Reigns. Austin, I might but I doubt it, because before I become a referee, I was going to be a wrestler, and I just never thought using a stage name. So it's kind of hard now to backtrack 18 years and redo it, but I probably wouldn't. First of all, because I love my actual name, but second of all, this day and time, because of all the social media we have, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Pinterest, Google, Facebook, whatever you want to use, because of so many social medias and the internet out there, to me, there really ain't no point in using a stage name because anybody and everybody can get on any kind of social media platform and find out what your real name is. So there's really no point in using a stage name anymore because people are going to find out who you really are. And then they're going to go back in time and look. And, the downside of being famous to all the people that are famous, whether it's, through wrestling or football, baseball, basketball, whatever it is, if you've done anything wrong, whether it was a year ago or 20 years ago, people are going to go back and dig it up and they're going to find out. So even if you change your name, it does no good because anything you did wrong, they're going to find out about it because it's supposed to be you're supposed to forgive people, but unfortunately, when you're famous, it's not that way. You might have said something bad 25 years ago, and instead of folks saying, I'll let it go, they say, I got to get them fired. They got to lose their job. They said this back in 1975, and that's just the way people are. It's unfortunate, but it's the way they are. Why do they do it? A lot of people still do it because you want to keep your professional life and personal life separate. And you can, for the most part, unless you work for somebody as a wrestler and you do them wrong, then all of a sudden they're going to, forget your ring name and tell everybody what your actual name is, what you've done, and all that kind of stuff. But until you do something wrong, which we all do because we're all human, we're going to do something wrong, something that we regret because we're human and it happens. But until you do, most people, unless they just do not like you, will call you by your ring name. But as soon as you mess up, they forget all about your ring name and they bring up who you really are, where you're from, what your actual name is, what your actual job is, and they forget about everything else. Marcus, you like John Cena and Bianca Belair. Well, I've always liked Bianca Belair. I never have liked John Cena, never have. I like him a little bit better now that he's turned bad. It makes me like him a little more, but all in all, I've just never been a John Cena fan. I got stale on him. I guess he was around probably about a year, and I thought, boy, I'm tired of this guy, and I just always have been. But he's not quite as overbearingly annoying now that he's turned bad, but of course he's retiring now, so this ain't gonna last very long. Hey there, Threshold, glad to have you here. So for all of you that came on here and commented, I really, really appreciate it. Have you heard of Big Mike? I know several Big Mikes, so you have to be more specific and tell me which Big Mike you're talking about. And Austin, any movie that has John Cena in it, I'm not watching. But actually, all in all, in the grand scheme of things, I'm not a movie fan really at all. I watch maybe 2 movies per year tops, and that's pushing it. I mean, it's almost mid-April now, and I have not watched a movie this year. So, in the grand scheme of things, all in all, I'm not a movie fan to begin with. But even if I was, if John Cena's in it, I'm not watching it. And if former wrestler Batista is in it, I'm not watching it. And Firston, I'm assuming you're talking about the team behind me or on my hat, and that would be the Clemson Tigers. It is a university in Clemson, South Carolina. And if you're a sports fan, you can either be a Clemson fan or you can be wrong. It is totally up to you, but the only true team in collegiate sports is Clemson. I've been a fan since 1996. So I was 11 years old when I first became a Clemson fan, and I'll be one to the day I die. If you cut me, I bleed orange. They are my team and always will be. Hey there, I'm going to say KAU at KAU so I don't pronounce your name wrong. Austin, I love Batista's theme song. To me, he's got the best theme song in the history of wrestling. I could listen to that theme song all day long, but as far as a wrestler, he never was that good. I never thought he was that good of a in-ring wrestler. And I've been a wrestling fan so long that I like guys that can actually wrestle. And Batista was one of those that came along and had about 2 or 3 moves and done them in every single match. So he had the look. He had everything it took to be a great wrestler, except for he couldn't wrestle. He's one of those guys that got by based on the look because we know Vince McMahon loves the muscular type guys, and that's why Batista made it. But as far as wrestling, he never could wrestle. And Threshold says, call him Deacon Blues. Well, that's what I'll call you, Deacon Blues. And as I said, I've never been a big John Cena fan. I like him a little bit better now that he's turned bad. I love what he's done, behind the scenes, off camera for the Make-A-Wish Foundation over the years. But just in general, I don't care to watch a guy that wears blue jean shorts and tennis shoes. That's just not my idea of a wrestler. And Susan says, go Tigers. That's the best comment I've seen here on this midday Monday. You've been a Georgia Bulldog fan since 2012. And Marcus, I apologize, but you've been wrong for 13 years. Maybe one day you'll come around. And one of your favorite wrestlers was Rikishi. You know him. He did the stink face. Yep, I sure do. A couple of years ago, I forget her name now because I've did too many shows, too many places, can't keep up. But a couple of years ago, I actually had a wrestling show somewhere with a female wrestler, and her finishing move was the stink face. Of course, she called it something else, but it was basically the same thing from the female perspective. And that's been, I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago, but I've did so many shows I couldn't begin to tell you where it was or who she was, but it was some female from some show that I did. And Susan was a Ric Flair fan. He was good back in the day. And KAU, I'm glad you got a laugh out of that. I appreciate that. Undertaker was also a very good wrestler. To be his size, he moved very good. I always liked Big Van Vader only because it was impressive to me to see a 450-pound man do moonsaults. It's just something you didn't see. But let's go ahead and get our dad joke of the day in here. Police have confirmed that the man who tragically fell from the roof of an 18th floor nightclub was not a bouncer. And that does it for today's Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Until next time, it's Ref Brandon saying, just like in pro wrestling, life can be over by the count of 3. Tell your friends and family how much you love them. Bye.